Alright guys, in this video, I am going to explain to you why going on a fat loss phase and sticking to a calorie deficit over an extended period of time will improve your life in pretty much every aspect. So we know that to change our body and our body composition, we need to be in a negative energy balance. And that is something that our body does not want to do. Obviously, as you guys would know by now, mentally it's something that's quite difficult as well, because we have to restrict our calorie intake to some degree, and it doesn't have to be over the top, but there is some form of restriction. We have to make sure we're having some form of energy output where possible. So whether that's strength training, whether you're adding in cardio, whether you're keeping your steps up, whatever it may be. Over time, we need to remain consistent. So we need to work on our discipline muscle, right? So whenever I'm starting to feel like I'm losing productivity or I'm lagging behind a little bit with work or any areas of my life, I like to make sure that I start tracking my calorie intake as closely as I possibly can using an app such as MyFitnessPal. Even better if I'm in a calorie deficit trying to lose a little bit of body fat, because here's the reasons why. Firstly, we have something that we really need to adhere to on a daily basis, even if it's as simple as plugging in some food into an app like MyFitnessPal. Secondly, we visually get to see the changes that happen when we put in the work. So although I'm a massive believer in not having to have instant gratification when you do something, or putting in a bit of work and just understanding that those seemingly insignificant tasks that we do consistently over a long period of time actually compound to significant results without us having to see the instant reward for that when we put in the effort, I think it can be a real game changer for people to be able to see the difference they're making to their own physique just by taking control of their calorie intake, making sure they're training consistently, drinking enough water, focusing on sleep, and everything else starts to flourish as well. So I don't know about you guys, but whenever I have gone into a fat loss phase, not only am I starting to track my food intake, but I really start to dial in with my training as well. Because if I'm going to put in all the effort to eat in a calorie deficit, hit my protein targets, be a lot smarter with my food choices, map out my meals for the day, put in the time and effort, and as I mentioned before, adhere to tracking my food intake, of course I want to get more out of my training. I'm going to dial in my training. I'm going to make sure I'm progressively overloading. I'm going to make sure I'm not wasting any sessions in the gym in order for me to see the best results possible in the shortest period of time, obviously in a way that's sustainable. But at the same time, my water intake tends to get a lot better. My sleep quality tends to get a lot better because I start to look at, all right, if I'm going to have a good training session tomorrow, what do I need to do? I need to make sure I've had good recovery. I need to make sure I'm hydrated. I need to make sure that if I'm training first thing in the morning, that I'm getting to bed at a time where I'm going to be able to get enough quality sleep to wake up in the morning and actually put in a good session and good performance in the gym. Now, my discipline across the board goes through the roof. All right, so my productivity with work tends to get a lot better because I'm a lot more organized. I'm managing my time better. I'm looking at when I need to train. I'm looking at what meals I'm going to be having for the day. Looking at what time I need to go to sleep. I'm starting to see these changes in my body due to the work that I am putting in. It doesn't come down to anyone else. There's no external factors. I don't need to rely on anyone in order for me to change my physique. It all comes down to what I do or don't do. And I think that's one of the reasons why I fell in love with the gym in the first place, is because coming from a team sport background where I might get cut from teams, I might have coaches that don't like me, you might have teammates you don't get along with, or you might lose games where you felt like you did everything you could, but due to reasons outside of your control, it didn't turn out in your favor. So when it comes to changing your body, or when it comes to building a business or putting in the work, you have to understand that it's fucking your fault, whether it's good or bad. So having that responsibility and also understanding that, all right, if I put in the work, if I am disciplined across the board with everything, with my recovery, my training, my nutrition, and then increasing productivity with work at the same time, making sure my relationships and friendships and all that type of stuff is going exceptionally well. Also, you start to realize that you're an extremely powerful person, and your self-belief and your self-worth tends to increase as well, because you're starting to see the results of your own work. Now, I know this is a bit of a broad explanation as to why I find a fat loss phase so beneficial for all areas of my life, but I can just tell you from my experience and through the clients that I've spoken with around this same topic that whenever I'm dialing in and turning up the volume dial with my nutrition and training to change my body composition, everything gets better. I'm so much more on purpose about what I'm doing daily. And as I said, my productivity goes through the roof because my body fat starts to come down and my energy levels are better. I'm hydrating much better than what I do when I just don't give a fuck and I'm kind of just cruising from one day into the next. So my energy, my mood and everything tends to get a lot better. I'm starting to look at what supplements I'm using. I'm starting to look at the quality of foods that I'm eating. I'm starting to have these little dopamine hits when I see my body changing and I start to feel really good about myself. And that correlates and kind of just works its way into everything else that you're doing as well. And if you haven't experienced this before, then I would highly recommend it. And it's not that hard, to be perfectly honest. I talk about this a lot when it comes to fat loss, like adhering to it over time, long enough to see extremely good results can be difficult, of course, because there's always going to be some form of sacrifice when we talk about change. The reason why people don't see change enough is because it's uncomfortable. It's an unfamiliar territory. It's easy for us to just have a high body fat percentage where we can eat whatever the fuck we want, whenever we want, not train that hard, not be disciplined with anything in our life, even if it's not an outcome that we want. It's easy, and most people lean towards that because we understand it's familiar, it's safe, we know what, it's predictable, we know what to expect. But all of a sudden, when things start to get a little bit hard and you are losing body fat, and you're seeing that reward, but you're also starting to get a little hungrier, or you can't fuck training or whatever it may be, and you push through that resistance and you step into the unknown, that is where all of the good shit happens. And I cannot recommend it highly enough. So I'm not saying that every single person that watches this needs to go and lose a fuckload of fat or anything like that. I'm just saying that even by just getting a lot more on purpose in regards to tracking your food intake, if you're in a surplus or if you're at maintenance or whatever it is, but just tightening up the screws and turning the volume dial up with the things that you are measuring and the things that are within your control. Even things like mindset, so meditation, doing a cold shower in the morning. This video is going all over the place, but the mindset side of things with the cold shower, people often ask me why I do cold showers in the morning, and this is my explanation, and I think every single one of you would benefit from it too. I don't do cold showers for the physical benefit, and that's the honest truth. Like, I understand there's so many physical benefits to doing cold showers and ice baths and in terms of recovery and all that type of stuff. For me, it's doing the shit that I said I was going to do, even when I really badly don't want to do it, every single morning. By making that really hard decision first thing in the morning, as soon as I get out of bed, all of a sudden everything else for the day seems easy. I carry momentum into the rest of the day, and I start to teach my brain and myself that when I say I'm going to do something, I do it. And that translates and correlates across to everything else in my life. And that's when I start to see momentum. And I promise you guys that I really put things like cold showers and meditation, obviously training, obviously tracking nutrition, obviously pushing myself physically and mentally to step out of my comfort zone. I put that down to the fact that I've been able to, or I put my success and any progress that I've made in all areas of my life down to those things. It's not about any secrets that no one knows about. It's not about the shit that, successful people must know that we don't. It's about doing the small things exceptionally well on a daily basis and doing them on purpose and with some form of intention and clarity consistently over a long period of time, and you can change your life. I promise you. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video and taken something out of it, and I'd love to hear your feedback if you have.